of the 3rd of October 2025, held virtually via Microsoft Teams, scheduled for 9 to 12, but I hope that we'll be able to finish well within the allotted time. Also like to welcome the members of the public who are following us through the various live streaming platforms. My name is Muzim Kize. I'm going to be chairing this session. I'm the full-time regulator member primarily responsible for petroleum pipelines regulation at NERSA. With me, 5 members of this committee. I will start off, 4 members, additional members, sorry, of this committee. I'll start off with Mr. Sibanda. I will go not the ladies first procedure today, but start with the gentleman. If you may just greet Mr. Sibanda.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to NERSA colleagues as well as to members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sibanda, by the way, is the member that is a part-time member who is also the chair of the ITGC, which is the IT Governance Committee of NERSA, and a member of various committees within NERSA, as well as a member of this committee, which is the Petroleum Pipelines Subcommittee. We call it PPS for short. I also have Madam Maseti, who is the full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for pipe gas regulation, currently also assisting as the full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for electricity regulation, and a member of various committees within NERSA, as well as this committee, the PPS. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to you. Good morning to the members of the committee, staff and management, and to the members of the public. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We also have got the CEO of NERSA, who is the chair of the Regulatory Executive Committee, and a member of various committees within NERSA, Advocate Nomalanga Stole. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, Chairperson, members, NERSA personnel, and everyone who have joined us for this meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm also very much glad to have the Deputy Chairperson of NERSA being part of this subcommittee, which was Madam Mpungose. She also is a chairperson of the Human Resources and Remuneration Committee and serves in various committees within NERSA. Very much happy to have you here, Madam Deputy Chairperson. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the Energy Regulator and management in this meeting. And I'd also greet the members of the public who are live streaming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Also, just want to know that the secretary of this subcommittee is Madam Patience Maswangai, and the team from the Petroleum Pipelines division, regulation division, is ably led by Madam Olile Mtwa. They will be doing the presentation of the submissions that are going to be considered by the this Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee. We have 5 substantive items, but I think 3 are going to be dealt with in the open meeting. I would like also to request Madam Twa that right at the beginning you tell us who are going to be presenting, and then you will then assist by way of ensuring that we keep to the time. For the first one, we'll do 5 minutes, and then the rest maximum of 3 minutes. Without any much ado, members, we've got the agenda before us. Just by show of hands, if you do adopt the agenda with the change that item 9 and 10 are going to be discussed in a closed meeting due to their very nature. Thank you, Madam Massetti. Thank you, Advocate. It's Madam Pungose, Mr. Sbanda, Advocate Stole. Advocate Stole, just waiting for your hand. Okay, with the majority of members.
Apologies, Chair. I'm struggling with the raising the hand raising functionality. Yes, I'm fine, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. This agenda with that change is adopted for this meeting. We'll then proceed to the item 4, which is the declaration of interest. Any interest to declare verbal in this meeting, members? By show of hands, please. I don't see any hands. I also have got nothing to declare. I would just like to implore you members as well as management to please fill in the declaration of interest forms and share them with the Secretariat, Madam Asanganya. This then concludes item 4. We'll then move to item 5. And I'd just like to hand over to you, Madam Twa, if you can just clearly indicate who's going to be presenting, outline all of them, as I've said, and then we can just get people to come in and present within the allotted time. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to the members of the public. Good morning, members and colleagues. We have the item that is item 5 will be presented by Ms. Piladi Mahamati. Item 6 will be Mr. Mhlujana, and Mr. Mahlangu will do item 7, and the last item will be dealt with by Ms. Boko or myself. We'll be helping each other on that one, and the colleagues will also be supporting us. Thank you. If I can just briefly on item 5, this is a report on the liquid fuels logistics infrastructure variability study, which we are looking at phase 2, as the phase 1 has already been presented. So this is a study that we took after we noted the landscape changes in the industry, and we wanted to understand how things have changed and how are they impacting in terms of our normal value chain and logistics of the supply and infrastructure vulnerability in terms of being adequate for the development that's happening in industry. I'll allow Ms. Mahamatu to then quickly take us through and highlight the important things for members to note. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mtwa, and good morning to the members. And thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Chair, as explained, this submission relates to the ongoing liquid fuels and logistics study that the PPR initiated during the trajectory of the refinery shutdowns. If members recall, we started this study looking at a product-specific led phase 1, where we looked at jet fuel. And then from that phase 1, guidance was given that we should rather look at product flow corridors and look at modeling forecast through throughput volumes for the facilities, which is exactly what we did for this current phase. Therefore, this part of the study, which we take as read, Chair, looked at the Durban to inland product corridor and sought to answer specifically the questions on whether the closure of the refineries had an impact on the primary import facilities and the secondary related infrastructure, and whether those same facilities are constrained post the refinery closures. To answer those questions, Chair, we looked at how petroleum product flows from the loading facilities to the connected primary facilities through the Transnet pipeline system and into the secondary pipeline fed facilities inland. This logistics flow is shown in section 4 of the report. We then analyzed the monthly volumes of each of those facilities from the 2018-19 period to the 2023-24 period, which is shown from section 6. And then we use the minimum throughput benchmark that NESA currently utilizes to determine uncommitted capacity to measure the extent of constraint pre and post the refinery shutdowns, which is detailed in section 8. We also looked at the quantum of product handled through the import primary facilities versus the quantum of product handled through the MPP. And then finally, we did a throughput focus modeling, which is covered in section 9 of the report. In general, Chair, the findings on the effect of refinery closures on both the primary and the secondary facilities indicated a mixed impact, meaning some facilities showed steady throughput growth while others showed a steady throughput decline after the closure of refineries. Therefore, here, Chair, there wasn't really a clear trend we could derive, and therefore we concluded that the effect of refinery closures on both the primary and secondary facilities was inconclusive. In terms of the capacity constraints, for the primary facilities, it was unclear whether the facilities are likely to be constrained. And this is because most of the facilities were already operating above their minimum throughput benchmark before the refineries shut down. And it was also important to note that almost all the facilities here, the import facilities, did not have uncommitted capacity as determined by NERSA using that minimum benchmark throughput. However, with the secondary facilities, most of them operated below the minimum benchmark before and after the refinery closures, and therefore the finding here was that they are unlikely to be constrained. Chair, Mr. Sokopase assisted with the modeling and worked on it extensively. Unfortunately, he's had a bereavement and is therefore unable to provide the detailed explanation. However, maybe just a high-level summary of that. In terms of the modeling of the throughput, again here, there were distinct dynamics across primary facilities. Some showed that they're strongly influenced by past throughput levels, which showed stability, while others it wasn't the case, and there were significant fluctuations. And then on the forecasting itself, most facilities, both primary and secondary, were forecast to remain steady, with the exception of some of the outliers. Chair, I think what is important to highlight here is that this is somewhat of a learning curve, and we still need to validate the modeling and the forecast with actual data from the current periods. So it is still a work in progress. To conclude, Chair, we have outlined the noted vulnerabilities within this corridor, most of which are known, and also stated some of the plans in place to mitigate some of those challenges. Our ending remark really is that we could consider quantifying some of those vulnerabilities and possibly interrogate some scenarios that could cripple the system. Yeah, Chair, I will end there. The report as outlined is before the committee for noting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mahamata. You just kept to the time. I'd just like to say that members, it should be noted that this is actually a dynamic document, and as we progress from different focus areas for the study, we will also be it's important for the team to then also revisit these reports, which I think also will serve as a very important input into discussions with other parties, including the Department of Electricity and Energy, as well as Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, not forgetting the state-owned entities and licenses in the sector, in terms of providing the feedback and carving a pathway to the future of this industry. I would not then want to waste more time, just to give you members an opportunity to ask any questions, comment, or provide guidance, noting that it is not a very mathematical kind of study, leaving room for different approaches to the way maybe it's articulated, etc. So over to you, members, by show of hands, if you have any input to make. I know to Madam Maseti. You may come to the phone.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to Madam Mahamata for the concise explanation of this report. Chairperson, just two things for me, because we really wanted to get something that would guide us as to how the energy regulator will deal with issues or the threat to the security of supply. I think that is the key thing, because we need to facilitate that. Now, it concerns me when then we do this kind of exercise and then the conclusions are that it's inconclusive. I would have expected that at least there are certain highlights on things as you were doing the modeling, to just be so that you are able to show the risk that are there as a result of the shutdown. Because obviously, if you were to do that, even the demand modeling as part of this, this exercise, and because there's a shutdown, so you then want to look at the implications in respect of the ability to supply, and whether the existing demand will still be met. That is very important, because we are doing this within the context of checking any threat to the security of supply. So there must at least be something that deals with the threat or the risk of meeting the existing demand. Then you also do the forecast in terms of the future demand, especially if we anticipate the factors that would affect the demand growth. So obviously there will be those factors that affect the demand growth. So you will then indicate there in terms of the threat for the future demand or the demand growth. What exactly is the situation, especially if you analyze the market. So I expected at least that should be something that gets emphasized, as opposed just to get to that part of inconclusive results. And it's still important in any event that we get that sense, because that will also affect the tariff at the end of the day and the throughput. So I would say that the study must still clarify us on that issue, because it is important. The second thing, Chairperson, that I wanted to just check. I know that it is there in gas. I'm just not certain in the PP in the regulations for the Petroleum Pipelines Act. Given the fact that on that issue of the uncommitted capacity, I think it will be important for us to actively monitor it, because I'm not sure whether we are certain from the contractual basis that all of the capacity is contractually committed. Now, even if it is contractually committed, the inquiry doesn't end there, because we need now to have that data that will indicate the consistent utilization of that capacity, because it is one thing to contractually or to contract out all of the capacity, especially scarce capacity, because it becomes scarce and very and essential in terms of these facilities. So if one then tries to keep others out of the market and say just contract all of this capacity, and yet you don't use it. It is capacity that is sitting there. So it then requires the regulator to monitor that. It's one thing that you have the contractual capacity, but you look at the utilization of that capacity so that it can then be released and the regulator can then come in and release it. So we're not hearing anything in that regard. And perhaps that's another thing that from a compliance enforcement, it's something that we then need to look into. And that is the nature of the regime that we have, the one of uncommitted capacity. It requires that active proactive monitoring by the regulator when it is not utilized, because it becomes an issue of foreclosure because now you want to exclude others out of the market. So that's something that we need to just check. And then secondly, part of it, I'm not sure if we have, in terms of our rules, the requirement for the licensees to publish from time to time the available capacity. I know that we do have it in gas in Rule 20. I'm just not sure in terms of the Petroleum Pipeline Act framework, in terms of the rules, the subordinate legislation, the rules as well as regulations. But maybe it is something that within our discretion to get information and get transparency, and in our context of enforcing third-party access, to require them to then publish the available capacity. That will be my suggestion, Chairperson, on these matters, the three suggestions that I've made. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Aseti. I think that in responding, Madam Mahamata and the team, it's going to be important just to also indicate that the document is going to be enhanced. I think let's not talk about any next report, but let's enhance by putting this very clearly, or cite where these are currently found, and then enhance those areas. And then with uncommitted capacity, there's also a lot of work that is done specifically by Dr. Rolo on this one. I think it would help if it may come in. But in terms of the scope, I think under scope just indicate the issues that pertain to this element. And I think that what is also going to help in the report is maybe to have a section that highlights other documents that it's worth reading this with, or reference materials, which point to such matters. I think it will help in terms of enhancing the usefulness of these documents. As I've said, that this document must also be dealt with internally by way of deliberations thereon, as well as with external parties. Over to you, Madam Mahamata and the team. I note your HOD has already raised his hand. Over to you, how you follow on these matters. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members, and colleagues. I'm the HOD, but Mr. Lukele is acting. But I think it was important for me to also to support and give some of the context on this. We note the comments and from Ms. Mosetti and from Mr. Mkhize. So just three key things in line with what's the comments of and concerns raised. It's a valid point that we could not, in this first report, which is affecting a working document, because the dynamics is so important here and the differences in products. So one of those facilities is a lubricant facility, which has got a completely different profile. It's a niche market than petrol and diesel. And the same with jet. And the moment there's some problem with the refinery to supply or other constraint, it changes the picture. So I think that's the first thing. So we have to validate some of the data further in terms of going forward and enhancements as Mr. Mkhize guided, and also then to validate the model. But we have to find a more scientific way to try and understand this. And I think our last site visit, we also confirmed some things which will flow into the enhancement. So it's unfortunate that the way the data comes and the dynamics and the different features of each of those does make it. But we will enhance the report and make it more usable. Then in terms of the demand growth, in fact, the growth is very little. AfriForesight is our party that we've been relying to do independent studies. Diesel is growing at 1%. Petrol is actually declining or going sideways. So in a way, the growth is limited, and it's also linked to GDP. So we note the comment, Ms. Masetti, and we will do that enhancements. In terms of uncommitted capacity, and then, yeah, firstly, maybe Dr. Kulu and the 2 reports that Mr. Mkhize revised, a lesson learned that maybe those documents should be maybe also definitely referenced and maybe even attached. They served last month at PPS, the utilization report, as well as the inland supply report. So we take that and we will enhance it to bring in that. Dr. Kulu can come in, but he was also consulted as part of this project by the team. But the net effect is there's not been uncommitted capacity. And he can correct me or guide me, but I think in the last 2-3 years in Durban, it's difficult. It's an open forum to name specific details, but in fact, the oil majors are renting capacity from other players. So there is really a constraint at this point in terms of capacity, and therefore I'll be guided by Dr. Kulu. The documents that's published and also on NERSA's website doesn't show any as far as I recall. In terms of the monitoring and enforcement, we also take that guidance. But yeah, as I said, I think maybe the lesson learned is that we bring in those other 2 reports to then sort of also make a more concrete finding, as Ms. Masetti has indicated, it's not really conclusive. Thank you, Chair. Maybe the Dr. Kulu or Ms. Mahamata, if they want something to add.
Thank you. Over to Dr. Kulu.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, members, management, colleagues, and members of the public. And thanks to Madam Masetti for the questions. Regarding the monitoring aspect, we've covered in our submission of 3 September 2025, of which we sort of do that in terms of monitoring what is happening pertaining to the request, and as well as in terms of, because the methodology in terms of determining uncommitted capacity sort of factors the contractual aspect of it. So of which in this case, what is happening, everyone wants to import. Let me say, not every, but the majority of people want to import, which makes a challenge in terms of giving access. As correctly indicated by Madam Mahamata, that you'll find that the non-importing facilities have got uncommitted capacity. In that respect, you find that they are not used because people, they first want to import, and then due to congestion and other factors at play, it becomes impossible to accommodate everyone. Regarding publishing the list of facilities with uncommitted capacity, what NERSA does, publishes a consolidated list just to make it easier for anyone who's looking for a consolidated list. But at the same time, the licensees, those that have the website, are able as well as to publish on their side what is applicable to them. But on NESA side, we do publish a consolidated list. Thanks, therefore.
Thank you. I think when it comes to the capacity issue and the utilization thereof by third parties, it's important to also mention that the companies also get their uncommitted capacity allocation mechanism approved by NESA, and they also publish it for ease of prospective clients to have a look at and understand. Madam Aseti, just by thumbs up if you are adequately covered. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. With no any other hand, we'd just like to proceed then to the recommendation, which is that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee notes the report on phase 2 of the liquid fuels logistics and infrastructure vulnerability study attached here to as Annexure A, taking due cognizance of the enhancement to be made on this report and other deliberations during this meeting. By show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Aseti, Advocate Tole, Mr. Sbanda, Madam Pomose. This concludes item 5 and takes us to item 6, which is on the Petroleum Pipeline Regulations Program, looking at the various projects and the progress reports thereon. Over to you, Mr. Mfojana. You've got your 3 minutes maximum.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, colleagues and members of the public. The report is always submitted every financial year to the PPS. This one in particular looks at the projects that have been initiated in the Petroleum Pipelines division. It's basically looking at what has transpired in the last 6 months, and obviously we're gonna have another one where it then concludes the financial year projects that happened in this financial year. Chair, maybe just to highlight the additions to this report. In 4.3, what we've done, we've just enhanced the report just to basically differentiate between different projects that are done within the PPR division. You will notice, Chair, that there's strategic projects, obviously that aim to ensure that the strategic objectives of the division are met. In particular, the project that we've just discussed is one of the strategic projects that the PPR division has. We also have projects that are dealing with that are operational. Those ones are geared to ensuring that we improve our existing operations, we increase efficiencies. Then we've got also projects that are compliance in nature. Those projects are obviously looking at compliance to regulations, as well as obviously the industry standards. Chair, those the projects are tabled in 5.3, and we've categorized them as such, Chair, like I've mentioned, to say we've got projects that are operational, others are strategic, others are compliance projects. Chair, I'll end here and take the report as read. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mfojana. And I take it that you would also, based on the project management principles, work on ensuring that we kind of have that culture permeating the whole organization, the way of operation, as well as ensuring that you are on a continuous improvement path in terms of how we run our project, measuring the key aspects of project management, including the issue of doing projects within the right time frames, set time frames, budget, and other resources associated with project development, as well as ensuring that the final output is actually of the required standard and quality. With that, members, I'd just like to get to know if you've got any questions, comments, or guidance by way of raising hands from your side. Thank you. Over to you, Madam Pomosa.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm happy with the report. I think it helps to keep us up to date on the various projects. But I think it would help in the actual report where they give us the project status of each project so that we know whether it's on track or not, because we see when the project started and when it is anticipated it will end. But it is important that we also know whether currently it's on track. Will they reach the anticipated end date, or they might have to extend, or will the project be completed earlier than anticipated? Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson of NERSA. Mr. Sibanda, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the team. Just a few comments from my side, Chair. I think perhaps in table 1, if we could also consider maybe indicating what has worked well. Well, I suppose the table says challenges and opportunities, but all that you've listed there are challenges. But you may want to consider things that have also worked well, and perhaps on that issue, I don't know, in terms of your project charter, whether after each project you do a lessons learned that is specific to each project, so that you're able to identify maybe systemic issues that cut across different projects. But it will also be important to have that, because I mean different projects have different challenges, so that might assist. On challenge number 6, the lack of project funding. I don't know how far accurate this is, because at least insofar as I'm aware, we've always struggled to spend our consultancy or project budget, and the main issue has had really to do with how we prepare for our projects, in terms of making sure that we've got our ducks in a row, whether it's making sure that terms of reference are in place and going through all the SCM processes and all of that. But I didn't think that funding for projects was ever an issue. But yeah, I might be wrong. But at least from where I'm sitting, we've never really struggled, or rather, yeah, we've struggled to spend the consultancy budget. Regarding the resourcing of projects, and I'm looking at the at initial one, the project charter template that's given there. I'm not too sure, Chair, that this is the optimal use of skills, where we have about 1, 2, 3, 4 people from the tariffs department in one project, and you have two people from PLC. So I'm just asking whether for a project of this nature, do you need to have really 4 people from the same department sitting in the same project. But yeah, it's just a question that I have. That's all from my side, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. I don't see any other hand. I think in responding, Mr. Flojana, you note that these are enhancements by and large, but you just need to ensure that you just respond in terms of how you intend enhancing, noting that Table 1, for example, does provide a bit of the status, but just to I think the key issue there being that in that you also indicate, in other words, you give confidence that the big day of the conclusion or the finishing of that project is within reach, and give confidence that it is going to be attainable. Is attainable. And then when it comes to the last question by Mr. Sibanda, I think it's also important for you to differentiate, maybe to rephrase in line with the fact that there is planning that is very much important when it comes to these when it comes to these projects, where you need to synchronize project planning with the budgeting cycle, and be able to understand that in during the course of the year, sometimes new projects come in as per the requirement of the operations or shift spots, maybe in the strategical space, or operations, or just the landscape changes within the industry. So please do respond with that frame of mind. Over to you, sir, briefly.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the members for the additions. I've noted and I think and wrote down the additions that need to be done on the report. I think they'll greatly help and enhance the report from Ms. Mpongose as well as Mr. Sibanda. I think we will do that. It means the next report will have these enhancements, and at least I'm sure it will be much better read. Maybe just to comment on the issue that Mr. Sibanda raised on the project resourcing, where there's a bigger number of one department over the other. I think it's just worth noting that the nature of the project and where it is initiated from at times necessitates that the bulk of the resources maybe come from that department. But indeed, it is something that we'll also look at when we do project resourcing as well. And I think maybe the other key thing that I've noted is that one where that issue of lessons learned, I think that needs to find its way, I think, in the report as well. I think we will note that. Yeah, so, but thank you very much, I think, Chair, in terms of the additions as well. Yeah, I think we are okay. We will look into the enhancements and I think provide the better report as such. But thank you for this report as well. Thank you.
I take it that you then create that standard table in terms of the comments made and how you responded to them, and how it has you have incorporated or responded to same in the subsequent reports. Please just do that, because I think it will then help to improve the quality and usefulness of these reports. Members, I hope Mr. Sibanda and Madam Mpongose, you are covered. I see a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Then, with your permission, members, let me proceed then to the recommendation, which is on page 8 of 14. Under 14.1, it says it is recommended that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee, PPS, notes the PPR program progress report as of September 2025, of the 2025-26 financial year. By show of hands, members, if you support the noting. Thank you, Madam Maseti, Madam Pungose, Mr. Sbanda, and Advocate Tole. This then concludes item 6, taking us straight to item 7, which is the report on the monitoring of actual tariffs charged by licensees for the period 1 July 2023 to 30 June 2024. Mr. Oli Mahlangu, you have your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to members, PPS members and members of the public. The current report, which is presented to PPS members, serves as the 5th report that is recommended for noting and approval of the preliminary findings. This report further forms part of the continuation of the compliance and monitoring of the approved or set tariffs for the operation of petroleum pipeline storage and loading facilities. The previous report considered by PPS on the monitoring of actual tariff charged by licenses, which covered the period 1 July 2022 to 30 June 2023, was deliberated upon by the PPS on 2 October 2024, with noting and approval of the preliminary findings. The current report covers an assessment of 13 licenses that charge tariffs to third parties. This includes licenses with multiple facilities, license for pipeline storage and loading activities. The selection focused on all licenses who have approved tariffs, accommodated third parties, and submitted monthly volume reports for the assessment period under consideration. On 24 June 2025, NESA sent letters to the 13 licenses. The letters required licenses to submit information to NESA on the actual tariff charged and throughput volume stored for third parties over the period 1 July 2023 to 30 June 2024. Licenses were directed to respond within the stipulated 30 days time frame. Only 2 licenses failed to adhere to the deadline set due to changes in their operational and shareholding structures, which caused the delays. The findings for each licensee, the licensee responses and NESA's findings applicable to each licenses are discussed under the motivation section in the submission. The report is compiled in line with Section 28(4) of the Petroleum Pipelines Act, which provides that the authority must monitor the application of tariffs and take appropriate action when necessary to ensure that they are applied in a non-discriminatory manner, and licenses must provide the information required by the authority in this regard. It is therefore recommended, Chair, that PPS notes the report on the monitoring of actual tariff charged by licenses for the period 1 July 2023 to 30 June 2024, and approves that NESA notifies the following 3 non-compliant licenses of the energy regulator's findings, namely SA Tank Terminals, VOPEC Terminal Durban, VOPEC South Africa Development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahlangu. Members, by show of hands, if you've got any questions, comments, or guidance to provide. I don't see any other hand. Oh, here's a hand from Mr. Sbanda. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the first question that I have, I see that the submission says we concentrated on 13 licensees who charge tariffs to third parties and meet other conditions, including the fact that they've consistently submitted monthly volume reports. My question really is whether are there any licensees that have not consistently submitted monthly volume reports, but do charge tariffs to third parties, and how many are there? I'm just trying to ascertain how many licensees we've not included in this analysis. And then on table 1, probably all the tables, it it might assist perhaps to indicate the date of tariff approval. I know that this covers the period 1 July 2023 to I think it should be 30 June 2024, if you can just correct paragraph 6.2 there. But sometimes we approve tariffs after the date that they were supposed to have come into effect, because maybe the applicant submitted the application late or for whatever reason. I'm just curious to know, for instance, there's a change in tariffs in table 1. And so I wanted to check whether that corresponds with the date that we approved the tariff, so that perhaps the applicant looked at the approved tariff and then decided to change. There is an explanation there given as to why, but I wanted to double check whether that also corresponds with the date of the tariff approval. But Chair, also the fact that most of these tariffs have really come way below the approved tariffs. I think, well, I suppose the question that I have is, what implications does this have for the tariff approval if in most instances you've got tariffs that are probably more than 50% below what has been approved? I'm just interested in the implications. What does it say about our methodology? Should we be changing because these seem to be responding to the market dynamics? So where does that leave, the regulatory framework or the regime, if at the end of the day tariffs are not really, which is a good thing, because I guess this is what competition is all about. But just a question in terms of the implications regarding the regulatory regime. I think it will also assist to then indicate the percentage difference between the actual tariffs charged and what NERSA approved in all the tables. I think that will assist just to get a sense of the percentage difference. And then, sorry. I think there's an instance where I wasn't too sure whether we are saying the licensee is compliant or non-compliant. Can't seem to find the comment. Sorry, I think I will stop here, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. Over to Advocate Chole.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the presenter. Chairperson, if I heard Mr. Mahlangu in his presentation, he indicated that one of the licensees could not comply due to changes in shareholding structure, if I heard him correctly. So I just wanted to understand, how does a change in the structure of a licensee impact on the need to comply with the approved tariffs? If you can just clarify that for me, because I do not think it is a valid reason for non-compliance by any of our licensees. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Advocate Chole. May you please respond, Mr. Mahlangu, with the assistance of the team members.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with the response to Advocate Sithole. The change in the shareholding structure led to changes in the compliance team, which is responsible for the provision of the requested information from NETSA. So as a result, delays were then encountered due to this changeover and the handing over of the functions. But we will emphasize in future to our licenses that it's as per the license condition, they are required to fulfill the reporting obligation from NETSA. Thanks, Chair. With respect to Mr. Sibanda, we've noted the enhancements which were suggested on paragraph 6.2, as well as the addition of the information in the table with respect to highlighting the percentage differences on actual and the approved tariffs. And then with respect to the licenses which have not submitted consistent monthly volume reports, would like to request our colleagues from the compliance team to assist with the stats, since we draw the information from their volume reports. So our focus as a technical team was on the licenses which have submitted consistent monthly volume reports and the actual tariffs over the assessment period. So because the financial year of the licenses tends to differ with our audit period. In this case, the financial year for Astron runs from Jan to December, and our audit runs from July to June. There are instances when we assess the audit that you'll find that the approved tariff and the audit period, there tends to be an overlap in terms of the changes on the tariff that is charged to third parties, because some of the licenses tend to charge maximum tariffs to the third parties. In this particular instance, with Astron, it's what transpired. But as it's alluded in the submission, negotiations are ongoing, or engagements with the third parties are ongoing to bring the actual tariff to a reasonable level that will be basically be affordable to its only third party, Umongo. So with respect to the impact of the low tariffs, we would like to bring to Mr. Sibanda's attention that even though NESA charges a maximum tariff, it is actually the prevailing market conditions which often necessitate the licensee to discount the tariff to be in line with also what the peers are also charging, because in engagement with licenses, they've often cited that when a licensee charges a maximum tariff, which is also higher than what the peers are charging, they tend to experience a drop in the volumes which are stored by the third parties. In some instances, they lose business. So they are actually compelled by the market conditions to charge or discount tariffs. So I think as part of the review of the methodology for storage and loading, the issue of the relevance of some of the components of the model will be taken into account, so that what NESA approves as a maximum is reflective of the market conditions. I'll park here for now, Chair, and allow for any further comments from the team. Thanks.
Mr. Kaba, then Mr. Lukele.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just to add on a few of the questions by the members. In terms of Mr. Sbanda's question regarding whether there are any that are charging but are not submitting reports. In terms of the reports, it's sort of a measure on our side, just to ascertain which licensees are actually charging, and it's like a verification mechanism on our side, because we have a list in terms of the report, in terms of the entire list of licensees. We ascertain the list from the entire report, and we want to see which licensees are actually charging to third parties, and we pick these licensees from our files or the report that Totokolo always submits to PPS as well, and then we verify what is charged with the volume reports. So we found that there is a correlation between the licenses that are reported in terms of Dr. Paulo's report and as well as the volume. So in our assessments or verifications, we haven't found licenses who are charging third party access or charging actual tariffs but are not submitting volume. Maybe I stand corrected by Dr. Paul and the other colleagues. In terms of the CEO's question regarding how the change of shareholder or the restructuring in terms of the company, how it affected regulatory compliance. After engaging with the licensee, we found that a lot of staff that responsible for this type of compliance had also been changed due to the shareholder restructuring that was happening in that company. So there was a lot of confusion in terms of who was responsible for submitting the compliance information. So that's why it took a while for them to actually submit the information. And we had followed our processes in terms of following up and also writing letters to them, information that they needed to submit to us. And unfortunately, the response was that there were some personnel that were also moved to some other areas of responsibility within the company due to the restructuring. And that is what caused the delay submitting the information. In terms of the implications in terms of the tariff approval or the gap between the approved tariffs and what is actually charged by licensees, and what the implications are in terms of our methodologies and or in terms of setting the tariffs and also approving them. I think this is something that we need to look into, Mr. Sbanda and the rest of the board, in terms of improving how then do we implement efficiency measures within our tariff policies or frameworks in order to reflect the true cost of supply. Something that we are looking into because it is prevalent, looking at these reports as and when we do monitor them. I think next report we will have a much more comprehensive effect or a way forward in terms of how or implementation or implications rather, with all the improvements that the board has actually
You seem to be breaking. I don't know whether it's on from my side or not.
It's the network here. So, what I'm saying is that we will have a more comprehensive report as to the implications in subsequent reports as well as we go and measure and monitor actually the actual tariffs versus what is approved by the energy regulator. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Lukele?
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to everyone and the members. I'm responding to Mr. Spanda's questions relating to compliance issues. There, I think, Chair, let me start by saying in the future report, we'll have that section in the report so that we give accurate information there. But we can say we reported on this list, I think in PPS, looking at the period of this report, it was reported PPS of 13 March 2024 as well as September 2024. So to give assurance to the members in terms of the compliance level, at the time we're sitting at 92%, and there was no sort of consistency in terms of licenses were non-compliant and those were charging a tariff. So we can give assurance to that. By the reports, we can refer to those two reports. One in March, it was item 16, and the other one was item 9. Thank you, Chair. In September.
Thank you. I think it's also important to phrase things accordingly. You know, we shouldn't give an impression that maybe for a licensee not to be considered or put under scrutiny, either they should not consistently submit monthly volume reports or be not charging tariffs per se, or not submit those reports whilst charging tariffs. Just be able to phrase the focusing so that it doesn't of its own create other challenges or raises questions. So if you can just zoom into that paragraph and change it accordingly. Okay. With that, Mrs. Banda, Advocate Tole, are you covered? By just a thumbs up. I see a thumbs up from Mr. Banda. Advocate Tole?
Yeah, I did raise my thumb. Fine, thank you.
Oh, okay. No. Thanks a lot. Sorry for not noticing it. I will then proceed to the recommendation. It is recommended that the PPS notes the report on the monitoring of actual tariffs charged by licenses in the period 1 July 2023 to 30 June 2024 and approves that NERSA notifies SA Tank, VOPEC Terminal Durban, and VOPEC South Africa of the energy regulator's preliminary findings of non-compliance. With that, members taking due cognizance of the issues raised and the enhancement that will be included in the subsequent reports, may you please raise your hands if you're in support of this recommendation. Not Madam Maseti, Advocate Tole, Mr. Sbanda, and Madam Bongos, I also support. Thank you very much, members. This concludes item 7 and takes us straight to item 8, which is we talk to the processing timelines for PPR license and tariff applications. If we just zoom into this and talk to the specifics, I know that is going to be Madam Boko and the EM.
Chair, apologies, I didn't raise my hand. Ms. Nkosi is sitting next to me here in our private boardroom here in Windhoek. She will proceed now with the introduction.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair, and good morning to members and colleagues. The purpose of this submission is to request the PPS members to know the processing timelines for PPR license and tariff applications. During the presentation of the license and tariff application at the energy regulator or subcommittee meetings, members inquired whether the processing timelines could be shortened. as the current timelines for reaching a decision were considered to be too long. As a result, the PPR division has prepared this submission to inform the PPS members about the processing timelines within the division, as well as consideration to shorten the processing timelines. The analysis process for both PLC and PPT is outlined in paragraph 5.1 to paragraph 7.1.8 of the PPS submission. Additionally, we have attached the standard operating procedures, which is a SOP, for PPT as Annexure A and PLC as Annexure B. It is recommended that the PPS members note the processing timelines for Petroleum Pipelines Regulation Division, license and tariff application, as well as proposed intervention for continuous improvement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Kosi. I was torn in between two options here of making this a governance matter or leaving it here open for discussion. As Mr. Danz would say, that you need to regulate in the sunshine. But you may guide Mr. Chokwe if we proceed.
Chairperson, good morning. And it's a governance matter, Chairperson. When it was presented, it was very clear that is a governance matter. Thanks.
Thank you very much. With that, members, as this becomes a governance matter, we'll further deliberate on it if need be as a governance matter in the closed meeting. Noting that we had these three substantive items dealt with already, which is for the public to follow. I think at this juncture, I would like to thank you, members, first of all, for the items that we've dealt with, management and staff, as well as the members of the public that are following us through the various live streaming channels, because that on its own pushes us to be ever so efficient and effective in terms of how we regulate. Yes, we might have challenges here and there, but we seek to be on a continuous improvement path at all times. With that, I would just like to wish members of the public and everyone in the meeting success with whatever endeavors they have for the day. The meeting is adjourned on the open side of this meeting number 200 of the 3rd of October.